Itoshi Sai versus Michael Kaiser, Yoichi Isagi versus Hitoshi Ren, Shoei Baro versus Ryusei Shido. In today's video, you will be given the answer to all of your burning questions about who is truly the best in the Block story. I went through the show and ranked every single character in the story, from the absolute worst all the way to the world's best. And when I say every character, I legitimately mean every single one. 387 in total to be exact. But yeah, not much else to say. Discord in the description below if you want to talk to your fellow anime fans. And if you are enjoying what I'm doing here, make sure to like and subscribe, as it helps me pay rent. And with that said, let's stop yapping and just hop into the video. Alrighty guys, for our first tier, we have tier 8, the trash cans. These are the guys who are bad for even very start of the story standards. Now finally, in our very last place, taking the 387th spot, drumroll please, Isagi's monkey teammate who missed the open net in the first 30 seconds of the story. Like, little bro, you're the only feat on screen is missing an open net, throwing your team the game. My blind, obese, handicapped, special needs grandmother with Parkinson's could have made this shot. Yeah, quit soccer. You have no future. Next in our 386th spot, we have the worst player on Team Z, Imamura. Now, I know for a fact none of you guys even remembered his name. Your initial first thought for who the worst player was either Igiguri or Narihara, but the fact that you could even remember their names means they're more valuable. I know for a fact none of you knew this guy's name, and none of you could even say one thing he did during the entire first selection. So that's why he's at the bottom also. Next up in 383rd, 384th, and 385th, we have the three absolute trash bags that Corona was hard carrying in the second selection within the episode Nagi manga. Reo states they are basically being hard carried by Corona, which is just obvious by looking at them. Like, look at this fat shit. I'm sorry, but how do you play soccer and you're this obese and unathletic? Next up in 382nd, we have the other worst member of Team Z, Narihara. Yeah, not much to say about this guy other than the fact that he's dog shit. Next up is Lemon. Not fully his fault since he was stuck in goal every game, but he at least has the feat of blocking Rayo's shot, so that counts for something. But if he was good enough, he would have made it past the second selection, but he just didn't. Next up is Kuon, the throwing trader monkey. Now, even though he's terrible compared to 99% of the cast, I still respect his grinding mentality. He would get mad at his high school teammates because in his mind, they weren't taking it seriously enough, and a mindset like that makes you at least better than Narihara and Lemon. So sure, why not, dude? From 371st through 379th, I have Isagi's 9 other high school teammates. Even though they're all unnamed, they were still a top high school team who barely missed out on nationals, so they must have been semi-decent at least. And then to get another massive chunk out of the way, we have the 36 unnamed shitters across Team X, W, V, and Team Y. Not much to say here other than the fact they were ignored by the rest of the team because they sucked. But they're probably at least better than players like fucking Imamura, you know? And then to get an even bigger chunk out of the way, we have the 216 unnamed Block characters that we never even saw once. And then finally, the player who takes the top spot in the shitter tier is the one Wanama twin that didn't make it through the second selection. Him with his twin were the strongest on his team, and they're pretty dangerous in the beginning of the show, but they were really nothing special individually, so I'll throw them at the top of tier 8. Now finally, we have made it to tier 7, the stage 2 merchants. In last place, we have Okawa. I only have him up here because when people first saw him, they were slightly impressed. Then from 107th all the way to 114th, we have these mostly featless players who, like this tier suggests, they're only up here because they made it to the top 35. We don't really know if they all were carried or not, but just off ranking alone, they at least made it to tier 7. Then finally, in the top of tier 7, in 106th place, we have the true final boss of Block, the crown jewel of Japanese soccer, Kira. This guy was pretty famous for young players in Japan, so he gets up here off pure statements alone. Now, in my opinion, this guy's a turbo bum, but there are actually real-life sentient human beings who will believe he'll be a main villain in the future. Dude, the entire point of Ego Speech in episode 2 is that he doesn't have what it takes, and people still think he will come back. Pure delusion and brain damage. Now, finally, in tier 6, we have the decent Block players. These are guys that if they were in Blue Lock, they would be considered at least decent. Now, when I made my list, I asked ChatGPT if I missed anyone, and it told me literally the funniest thing ever. It mentions how since Sa joined the U20 Japanese team, it means he replaced someone because, you know, you need 11 players. So in our 105th spot, we have the unnamed shitter who was replaced by Sai. Since he was on the Japanese U20 team, he must have been at least somewhat decent. Next up is Monkey Naru, another shitter from the U20 team. This guy was so bad he didn't even get a bid. He never even played once. Next in 103rd, I'm giving it to Nishioka, the Messi of block. Yo, thank God this bum is out. I was so tired of people saying he was secretly better than Ren. When I saw he got kicked out, I laughed so fucking hard and did a victory dance. Finally, all the undeserved glaze for this nobody was shut down. The reason he's up here is because he actually did get a bid and was relatively well known by the block characters, so yeah, why not? Now this one pains me to place, but in 102nd, I'm giving it to the GOAT, Igaguri. Now the painful truth is, if he wasn't with Shido in the second selection, he would have been long gone. His individual skill is near nothing, but he does have at least one saving grace of having his guaranteed foul strat. As useless as he is, no one can deny he saved Bastard 2 separate times against the Awakened Ren. But individually, he's probably still worse than a U20 player. Then from 92nd to 101st, I have the rest of the block members that didn't make top 23. This was truthfully just most of the shitty U20 team and some blue lock stragglers. Next, in 91st place, we have the third most valuable player, I guess, from the U20 team, Fukaku. Now, him being up here is strictly only because he somehow made it top 23. I think he only made it because the author needed a backup goalie for Gagagoat when he wants to play offense in the future. But, I mean, we gotta at least put him above the other guys because of that alone. Then, in 90th place, we have Nanase. This guy is low-key a bomb, but he's at least more useful than the shitty U20 players. His ambidextrous ability makes him a decent person to orbit better players like Rin, but on individual skill, he's probably still more useless than a U20 member. But, I mean, he made top 23, we gotta put him up here. Then, to get another massive chunk out of the way, from 40th place through 89th, we have the extra 50 U20 players we met on Bastard, PXG, Barcha, Ubers, and finally Manshun. These guys suck ass and were almost instantly replaced by all of the Blue Lock boys. They scale above the Japanese U20 players because they just suck in the story, so it would make sense for the other countries' U20 players to just be better. But I just can't put these guys above any relevant Blue Lock characters because almost none of them touch the ball ever the entire arc. I could go and rank the Bastard players top to bottom because we do see their scores in the beginning of the arc, but who really cares? They all just suck. And then for our 39th place, the final tier 6 player, we have Tokamitsu. I think he truthfully is better individually than some people like Nanase, but his beta mentality holds him back from asserting himself more in games. I mean, we saw what he was capable of in season 1. I think also he just suffered from being on a team with Rin and Shido since they stole all the spotlight. If he went to Manshine, for example, the place to get even stronger, he could have probably made top 23, but with the final rankings, I realistically can't put him any higher than this. Alright, we've got to tier 5. These are the guys that if you add to the team, they should on paper be able to at least bring something to the team. In our 38th place, we have the Walmart Chigiri himself, Zantetsu. Zantetsu is definitely a great supporting piece to have on any team, but his biggest issue is the fact that he's just Chigiri, but worse in almost every single way. And unlike Chigiri, who can consistently get goals, he's done nothing since season 1. So for those reasons, he's at the bottom of tier 5. Next up is the main man, Sendu, the Iraqi veteran. Now this guy's only up here because he was the ace striker of the Japanese team, so he should already be decent in theory. His only feats he has are a full hyena goal created by Baro, so basically just cleaning up leftovers, and then 2 great saves against Bachara and Hiyori. With our current block roster, I don't see how he ever gets any playtime, so I think bottom of tier 5 makes sense for him. In 36, I'm giving it to Kiora. Now, if you only read the block manga, the only feat from him would be that goated pass he gave Kaiser, but if you read the episode Nagi manga, you would know he's kind of like a Walmart Nagi with the way he can dribble and do weird shit with the ball. He could be higher, but I think the problem is as of now, he just doesn't have enough statements or feats to properly scale him, so I think it just wouldn't make sense to put him any higher than he is now. Next up in 35th, we have Walmart Isagi, also known as Nico. Nico was already shown to be a fairly strong defensive player who is very smart for his age of only 15, I believe, plus him unlocking Metavision makes him just that much stronger, even if it isn't as developed and ironed out as Isagi's. But right above him is Ryu for the simple reason that they're both defender players, but Ryu has a higher bid, meaning most of the clubs probably think he's a more valuable player than Nico. And then finally in the 33rd spot, we have my glorious GOAT Raichi. Just like Ryu and Nico, we have another defensive demon. Ryu and Nico are for sure smarter than Raichi, but Raichi still clears in terms of defensive capability because of his raw strength and endurance. Hard to outsmart someone who can run at max strength for 90 minutes without ever wavering or slowing down. He also, if you look at his stat sheet, is a very balanced, solid overall player. He also has the goated feat of slowing down the Snuffy. He's my GOAT for a reason, what can I say? But next up in 32nd, second place, we have one of the Isagi slaves, Corona. This guy is one of the fastest characters in the entire anime, which most people don't really know, who excels at short passing and has enough skills to single-handedly work with someone like Isagi to tear through entire teams together. His ability to instantly change direction makes him just so dangerous to first in a sport like soccer, where using speed and acceleration to pass opposition is so important. And then finally, our top player in tier 5 is Kunigami, Bombgami, Emogami, Shitgami, Monkeygami. This guy has one of the highest bids in the annual arc, but it's beyond undeserved. His 2 goals were only achieved because Isagi Amazon hand delivered them to his door. He gets instantly cooked in almost every 1v1 he takes, and truthfully, he is in all accounts a fraud. The reason he's up here though is just first of all, he is ridiculously strong. In a contact heavy sport like soccer, this is important. He also can shoot almost perfectly with either leg like Noah, and his defensive skills can be extremely high when it comes to holding down a player like Shida, for example, in the Peakstreet game. He could be much higher in this list if he just dropped his emo facade and coordinated with his teammates more, but alas, as of right now, top of tier 5 is just where he belongs. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we have now entered tier 4. These players would be considered the top echelon of block. And our 30th place, we have the blind bandit himself, Yukimiya. Yukimiya is truthfully a supportive monster. He's consistently been shown to absolutely solo entire teams himself. His dribble capability is easily top 5 in block, and when putting him on any team, he will guarantee value. I think if he fully just became an Isagi minion, he could be much more useful since his actual shooting ability isn't all that. But, you know, 30th is still fairly strong. The next 2 we have are Karasu and Otoya. Now, I know as of right now, Otoya is ranked higher than Karasu, but I think we all know Karasu is the better player. First of all, it was already implied in Season 2 with Karasu being 3rd and Otoya 4th. Then in the Neo Egoist League, both of them got stronger. But Karasu got much stronger once he unlocked the Metavision, so I just don't see how Otoya could be better. And if you want to make the argument that Otoya scored twice and Karasu didn't, let's use our thinking heads here, guys. Otoya's only competition was Bachura. Everyone else on that team fucking blew. Now let's take a look at Karasu's team to see what he had to compete for goals with. Oh no! Yeah, in what universe does Karasu get goals with these 2 on his team? So for these reasons, I still have Karasu ranked higher than Otoya. Next up in 27th place, we have Reo Mikage. Now, I'm well aware Reo could be higher in the future, but as of right now, this is a fair place to put him. His copy ability is extremely strong, and his ability to copy players like Sai and Rin is extremely useful, but as of right now, he just hasn't shown enough feats of him playing by himself to put him any higher. But I do suspect by the end of the arc, he will be top 3 to 5 in the block facility. Now in 26th, I have my glorious king, Goatmaru. What else can I say about this brother that hasn't already been said? First of all, he's already New Gen 11 skill-wise as a goalie, with literally 0 prior training. Just a natural-born hyper prodigy. He stopped a goal from Baro, Shido, and Rin, arguably the 3 best shooters in the block program. With, let me reiterate, 0 former training. He's also an acrobatic monster who takes scorpion kicks like it's nothing. Genuinely a freak of a man. Also, keep in mind, he wasn't even trying to be a goalie in seasons 2 or 3. Probably means he continued his striker practice in between. So he's probably even better on offense than what we think. Also, I mean, he just wrestles bears. So he's an overall Giga Chad. But finally, in tier 4, we have Augie. A super tall player with long limbs, which make him really hard to guard on defense. Plus, his soccer IQ make him extremely strong as an opponent. His only real issue is that he's a jack of all trades, but like master of none. So he's not that much of a threat in the field compared to the real big dogs. But overall, compared to the average block player, he's definitely a monster. But with that, we have made it to tier 3. Now this is where things get interesting. These are the players in my mind that have the skill level of not quite New Gen 11, but they're getting there, right? First off, now this may be the most contentious placement on the entire list, but I'm giving it to Nagi Seishiro. Now, at least hear me out before skittering out in the comment section. Nagi's only issue right now is his mental state and not his actual skill level. When he's locked in, he's 100% pushing New Gen 11 levels of skill. People claim he's inconsistent, which yes, he was towards the end of the annual arc, but he was perfectly strong and consistent the entire story up until then. Are you really gonna claim Nagi is worse than players like Yukimiya over 3 bad games? Like, no. His mental was shattered, but once it's fixed, he will 100% be back to his winning ways. His unreal ability to just make miracles happen is just something you cannot ignore in a game like soccer, where even 1 goal can be such a difference maker. Mark my words, Nagi ends a top 5 player in the entire series. But next up is the British demon himself, Oliver IQ. Oliver was the one one saving grace of the Japanese U20 team being the defensive monster he was. If he's not on that team, they get farmed like 10-1 or something. Plus, already being as strong as he was in the Neo Egoist League, he unlocks Metavision on top of everything else, which makes me think he should be at least inching ever closer to that new Gen 11 level of strength. Now, next I will go over numbers 21 and 22 together, since they are another big debate in the community. Ness and Charles. I guess first we can go over Ness. He's an insane dribbler, arguably top 5 in the series so far, and one of the best passers in the entire show as well. Plus, his awakening at the very end of the NEL arc showed us a new side to him that when he taps into will make him much stronger. Then we have Charles, a fellow genius Metavision user who, much like Ness, is also a top tier passer in the entire show. Since they're both relative in passing, the main difference is Charles' Metavision and brain, or Ness's dribbling. And as much as it doesn't tell the whole story, Ness does have a higher bid than Charles, meaning clubs do find him more valuable. And just like clubs, I will be putting Ness at 21st and Charles at 22nd. I think with Ness's awakening at the very end of the NEL arc, it puts him above Charles for me. Also, as much as I said they're both relative in passing, I do tend to believe Ness is slightly better. Plus, like I said earlier, once again, Ness has shown the ability to evade multiple people at once with his dribbling. So for me, he just barely edges Charles out. Now entering our top 20, we have the transgender GOAT Shigeru Hyoma. He is the fastest character in the Blue Lock program, and implementing his golden zone, he's created an extremely effective way to guarantee goals in almost every single game he plays. Now, he's not even that smart or good at synergizing with teammates like other people in this tier, but just his raw ability to make goals happen in almost every game just can't be ignored. So with that, he gets a spot in our 20th place. Now in our 18th and 19th places, we have another debate in my mind, Hiyori versus Batra. This is an argument I have with my live stream chat whenever I stream, but first I'll break down their skills. Batra is just a better Chigiri as of right now, basically guaranteeing a goal in every game he plays in no matter what, and just being a top dribbler in block. As much as people cope and claim he's the best dribbler, he's just not. Destroyer Rin diffs, but number 2 dribbler in the story is still nothing to scoff at. He's also been shown to be a decent passer, but other than that, that's about it. Now, next we have my glorious femboy GOAT Hiyori. Hiyori has shown to be a top 5 dribbler in the show easily, the best passer in block without a doubt. Karasu, an already genius soccer IQ level player, said himself that Hiyori's soccer IQ is nuts to even him, and on top of everything, Hiyori has Metavision. Hiyori's soccer IQ and visual prowess allowed him to block Baro's shot, which even Isagi didn't read, and he also allowed him to block Rin's shot, which once again, Isagi wasn't even able to read. So basically, we have a character who's the second best dribbler in the show, with fairly decent passing, versus a top 5 dribbler, top 5 defender, top 5 smartest character, and the number 1 passer in block. I'm officially putting an end to this debate. Hiyori is the overall better soccer player than Batra, and I won't hear any back talk. In the U20 World Cup arc, we already have better scorers than Batra, so he can easily be replaced, but someone as smart and good at passing as Hiyori is much harder to replace. So for these reasons, Batra is our 19th place pick, and Hiyori is our 18th. And before anyone mentions bids, Batra played in 4 games, and Hiyori played in 1 in barely a second, so that's just irrelevant. But now finally, for our top 2 players in this tier, this is once again another contentious debate. These are the only 2 characters in this tier that I think you could make the argument for actually entering the new Gen 11 levels of skill. First, let's go over Baro. Baro is a selfish king who will pretty much guarantee a goal in any match he's in. He has extreme precision in a super long shooting range. He's also a semi-decent dribbler with his chop dribbling, and now with his Predator Eye, his chances of scoring when shooting are even higher than before. Then we have Shido, who's kind of just a miracle worker whenever he's in the goal box. Now, as much as this will piss people off, I will still be putting Shido above Baro in overall skill. Hear me out. In Season 2, it was very clearly shown that Shido was much higher than Baro, but in the Neo Egoist League, it gets a fair bit closer. People will make the claim Baro's better because he had more goals than Shido, but you have to remember, Shido had to share goals with Rin. If Rin wasn't on that team, I could easily see Shido hat-tricking every game. The other thing is, Baro had an entire team built around just to support him, so in a game like the U20 World Cup, I don't think he'll be able to perform nearly as well sharing goals with the likes of Rin and Isagi. I think Shido as a player was also just time after time been narratively implied to be stronger. For example, in the 2v2 face-off between Isagi, Kaiser, Rin, and Shido, I think this was one of the ways of the author trying to imply that this was the crescendo of the arc because the 4 strongest players are going to go toe-to-toe. Another example of the author implying Shido is still the better player is him ending with the higher bid. I think the author is doing this on purpose to still imply Shido is third in the Blue Lock facility. Now, some people make the argument that Shido can't do anything without a world-class passer. I have 2 rebuttals to this. First of all, who cares? At the skill level we're at now, he will always be provided this, so it doesn't matter. Whether it be Sai, Charles, Hiyori, etc. So that argument means nothing to me. And second of all, are we forgetting Shido solo carried Ikiguri in the second selection? Ikiguri is not a world-class passer, so that argument just doesn't hold. I just think overall, when you have a player like Shido who can make absolute miracles happen consistently, it's just too valuable to ignore, even if his dribbling and passing is borderline ass. The other argument I see people make that doesn't really hold is when Loki told Shido he went 3 for 12 in shots within range against Barca. People will argue his accuracy is ass, but once again, who cares about this statement? We've been shown time and time again he makes these impossible shots extremely consistently. He's never even been shown to miss a shot. Just at worst, a goalie blocks it. So the statement just means nothing because we've seen otherwise. My theory is since FC Barca was such a monkey shit team, he was just going for phase trick shots for fun. And yes, like I said before, Baru did do well, but he had an entire nerd team of 10 minions fully supporting him. He doesn't have that in a normal match, so for all those reasons, I have Baru at 17th and Shido at 16th. Alright, but now finally the moment everyone was waiting for, let's be real. Tier 2, the new gen 11 tier of strength. Now, honestly, I can't really do these one by one. I kind of just have to talk about all these guys at once since they all kind of just scale off one another. Firstly, at the end of the Enio arc, we all know Isagi and Rin are just both above Kaiser. Isagi had Kaiser choking himself out after the Ubers game, gave him a PTSD flashback during the PXG game, and then finally fully devoured Kaiser, in his own words, for the final play of the game, causing him to fall to his knees in complete disarray. Also, for you Kaiser fanboys who still somehow think Kaiser's better than Isagi, Kaiser literally himself says he's not, so I don't get it. And then Rin, he's also just above Kaiser, as Rin was legitimately multiple times 1v2ing a prime team up between Isagi and Kaiser. Isagi also asked Kaiser if he wants to surpass Rin when they team up, basically alluding to the fact that yes, he's beneath you. Also, I mean, it's just fairly obvious if you watch the game that once he went into his destroyer mode, he was just much more powerful than anyone on the field at that time. Now, with just shooting, yes, obviously Rin and Kaiser are better than Isagi, but as an overall player, it was pretty clearly shown Isagi was the better of the 3 from his vision and just overall insane IQ. Isagi completely devoured and bested Rin multiple times in his destroyer mode and stole the final goal of the arc, firmly cementing him as the best player in Block. Rin obviously is still undoubtedly the best individual player with the best skill set, but soccer is a team game, and when Isagi has pieces on the field to move, he's simply just the best. So for these 3, I think most people would agree it goes Isagi, then Rin, then Kaiser. Now let's add another piece of the equation in, Lorenzo. Now for anyone who already watched my last stream, they already know where I'm going with this, but I see so many people say Lorenzo is the best new Gen 11 player, and I genuinely don't understand how you come to this conclusion, so I'm fully here to put it to bed. He is definitely the weakest in this tier. First of all, his bid is lower than Kaiser's. Now, I know it doesn't mean everything, but it definitely paints a part of the story. Next, his team literally went 2-2. If he was this god better than Isagi, Kaiser, and Rin, he doesn't lose 2 games. And by the way, he lost to a non-destroyer Rin. Lorenzo's big claim to fame is being the best U20 defender and a fairly good dribbler, but I'm about to make a wild claim. He's not even a top 2 U20 defender in the story. Isagi and Rin both have better feats. Just they do. Let me explain. In the Ubers game, legit multiple times Isagi or someone else gets past him with little to no difficulty. Isagi faked out IQ and Lorenzo and would have scored if not for Kaiser blocking his shot. Isagi would have scored another time on him if Yukimiya gave him a better pass. And then on the other hand, Isagi stolen or saved a goal literally countless times once unlocking Metavision. Isagi found a way to stop Destroyer Rin when no one else could and is just overall smarter. Rin, on the other hand, in his Destroy mode, was able to literally solo a newly awakened Kaiser and Isagi full power team up. Lorenzo is just simply not doing this. I do not care. Lorenzo almost got scored on by Isagi himself, and you think he can stop a full power team up with these two? Fuck no. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Lorenzo is a fraud, and he doesn't do a single thing better than Rin. Shooting, Rin. Defense, as we just showed, Rin. Offense, Rin. Dribbling Rin. Like Lorenzo is a fraud. Stop this narrative. He's the worst new Gen 11. Rin diffs him in every single aspect. Claimed to be the best U20 defensive player just to get diffed by people like Hiyori. I think I've said nearly everything there is to say about this, but yes. I don't see how, based on the information we've been shown, you could even make the argument Lorenzo is better than anyone here. Now, next up is Sai. Now, once again, I can't believe I have to explain this, but Sai is still easily better than Isagi, Rin, Kaiser, and Lorenzo. People are like, he lost to season 2 Blue Lock characters. Brother, do you actually think Sai was even trying like 20% in that game? At the end of the game, he was the only character shown to not even be sweating a little bit. That's not an accident. They did that on purpose. Also, let's just think of this from a very basic, non-brain damaged point of view. Rin's whole thing is surpassing his brother. We've already shown Isagi and Rin are just clearly better than Kaiser and Lorenzo. So if you think Sai is worse than either Lorenzo and Kaiser, then that also transitively means you think Isagi and Rin are better than Sai. In what universe would that even make 1% of sense? From a narrative point of view, it makes legit 0 sense for that to be the case. Literally, even in the PXG game, Rin was going crazy, and people like Kaiser couldn't stop him at all and was shitting bricks. But you know who wasn't even impressed a smidge? You guessed it, Sai. In Rin's mind, a shot that literally has Isagi and Kaiser shitting bricks is a tepid, half-baked shot. I saw someone say Rin versus Sai. Are we sure Rin hasn't already surpassed him? Brother, like, use your thinking helmet and that would be the dumbest writing ever. Like, that's just not the case. If Rin was better than Sai, then he would have already surpassed him, but he doesn't think he surpasses him at all yet. Like, what is he talking about? So yes, as of now, all the evidence we've given, the ranking goes Sai, Isagi, Rin, Kaiser, Lorenzo. Now, as of me writing the script, we have been introduced to a new character named Bunny. Bunny and the 2 characters we've seen as of writing the script has been shown to be the next clear antagonist and a rival to Sai. Sai saw this brother on TV and fucking hates him. A lot of people, including me, speculate this is the guy Sai met in Spain that crushed his dreams of being a striker and forcing him into the midfielder role. Now, just based on the way they've presented this guy as a new villain and a threat, and just the way Sai reacted to him, I'm gonna make the bold claim that he scales to at least Sai, but probably higher. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, our final rankings for tier 2 are at 15th place, Lorenzo the Fraud, 14th, Kaiser, 13, Rin, 12, Isagi, 11, Sai, and then finally at 10th, the newly shown Bunny Iglesias. And then finally, we now have the 9 pros in tier 1, the World 5 plus the 4 new masters shown in the NEL arc. Now, this section will be much shorter than the previous since a lot of these characters are either just obvious or just really guesses. Now, at the bottom, we have Dada Silva. In season 1, he just seemed like a strong character, but the way he spoke and looked made me for sure think he rode the short bus. So he's just probably a dumbass who's just strong. So he's our worst pro. Next, we have Adam Blake in 8th. Once again, in the World 5 matchup, he only just came off as like another dumb, strong character without much depth. So sure, the only reason I scale him above Dada is because he at least seemed a little less brain dead. Next in 7th, with Pablo, the prodigy dribbler and passer, who we saw in the episode Nagi manga, has Metavision as well. I don't have much reason for putting him above these 2, except for the fact that in a live stream once, you guys said he's better, so fuck it. Then in 6th, I don't know, Luna, he's up here just because he's a striker on Real, which is the strongest club in the world, so he would just have to scale above them. Next in 5th is Lavinho, who I think everyone can agree is the worst NEL master. Still top 5 in our story currently, but I just don't see how you can make the argument he's better than anyone in the top 4. Speaking of 4, 4th place is Loki, the speed prodigy, or as we like to call him, a future Isagi victim. Noel Noah makes the claim that he's the biggest threat to him right now since he's only 17 and growing exponentially. But as of right now, the top 3 are just too obvious. 3rd place is world's number 2, Chris Prince. 2nd goes to Noel Noah, who everyone calls the world's best. And then finally, to no one's surprise, in number 1, we have the crowned messenger Snuffy, who, in the number 1 player's own words, is better than him in overall skill. So yeah, with that, we have completed our journey to rank every player in Block from 387th to 1st. Now, I could also give a shout out to Ego. I didn't really know whether to include him or not because he doesn't really play for whatever reason. We don't know yet. But I can say this. He was Noah Noah's first rival and has been consistently shown to be the absolute smartest character in the show. He's kind of like a god watching from above, knowing the outcome and mindset of everyone on the field. I'll make the prediction that whatever caused him to stop playing was an injury, but if he didn't get injured, he would actually be the true number 1 of this list. But yeah, Ladies and gentlemen, I know for a fact people will be arguing and crying in the comments down below about what I got wrong, but let's just remember to try to use our brains before making an argument. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We can like and subscribe. But with that said, the video is now over, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.